The Finance Subcommittee of the City Council is comprised of 5 council members and considers any or all questions appropriate for the purpose of considering the budget, including the creation of new positions to the payroll, changes to the employee classification plan, or any matters pertaining to increasing the City of Framingham employee headcount. The following City Council Finance Subcommittee meeting coverage is brought to you by the Government Channel, a service of the City of Framingham.
Finance Subcommittee will come to order. This is revised. This is version 2, dated 7/28/26, in the Blum Memorial Building at 150 Concord Street, Framingham, Mass. Subcommittee members present tonight: Councilor Cannon, Councilor King, and myself, Councilor Ottaviani. Councilor Stefanini is in Maine, and this is the meeting I believe Councilor Malik said she was going to be unable to attend. Public participation. If anybody's here that would like to publicly participate on something that's not on the agenda, please raise your hand and feel free. Seeing none. Let me just... We have 6 people in attendance, 2 attendees, 4 panelists. There's nobody there. The minutes are pending, correct, Marion? Okay. Action items, discussion items. Upon the request of the CPC Committee, referral to the Finance Subcommittee, the matter of a special application for funding of the Chris Walsh Memorial Design. Welcome. I know originally I told my fellow councils I didn't think this was going to be on the agenda. We're continuing it, but then this morning I'm told differently, so.
You can come back.
Okay, what I asked. So welcome. I guess you're going to talk about it. I don't think you have a recommendation, and I know we're going to have another Finance Subcommittee, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Heather O'Donnell. I'm the Community Preservation Coordinator for the City of Framingham. I'm joined tonight by Tom Mahoney, the CPC Chair. I'm before you tonight to discuss the special application for the Community Preservation Committee received for the Chris Walsh Memorial Trail, CPA 27001. The project was submitted by the Parks and Rec Division in the amount of $409,506. Funding will be used for the design of the Chris Walsh Memorial Trail, an outdoor recreation amenity. The funding will serve as a local match for the federal grant, allowing for the completion of 100% design. Once constructed, the trail will provide connections to Farm Pond, Cushing Park, the MBTA commuter rail station, and downtown. This project was accepted by the CPC as a special application outside of the standard funding cycle due to the urgency of this project. As I mentioned, the project requires a local match, and the Parks and Rec Division is seeking CPA funding to serve as this local match. The CPC has a public hearing scheduled for August 3rd, 2026, where they will make a vote to make the final recommendation to the City Council for this project. This project was referred to the Finance Subcommittee before the CPC vote at their public hearing to expedite the approval process. It is my understanding that tonight's meeting will include preliminary discussion, and then a vote will be taken at a future Finance Subcommittee meeting before City Council meeting on August 18th. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the project, and I'm sure Tom is as well.
Okay, thank you for being here. I'll open it up to the council. Councilor Cannon, Councilor King, any questions? No questions? No questions. Anything else you want to share, Mr. Mahoney? Or?
Well, the reason that I know there was some concern of the timing on all this, but given this is the summer, and I know the City Council has only one meeting in August, and this requires, I believe, 2 readings by the council for the money to be released. The money has to be released by September 30th. So we felt that because we were short-timed on this whole thing, that's why we came before the City Council, or asked to be referred to the Finance Subcommittee. And as far as tonight is concerned, we were hoping if there was any questions by the councilors, that we could possibly either answer them tonight or get back to when we finally vote by your committee. Then everything will be taken care of. So.
Councilor Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being here and for all the work. I guess I'm still confused as to why this is
outside of the timing. We, throughout the process here, with some rigidity from your committee about the importance of adhering to the timing. What am I not understanding about why I'm supportive of the project. I thought this was a project that was going to take years and years and years, and the time horizon looked, I guess I'm a little behind the times there, but.
Well, I think, and the applicant may be able to tell us the reasons why they came before us to take us out of cycle, but the committee
You're pointing to.
knew that when we were developing this rule that we have, we knew there would be an occasion when there would be something out of cycle, and we couldn't wait to the normal cycle that we typically have, which takes 7 to 8 months to get from start to finish. But this was short-circuited because there's a deadline of the local match with the federal government so they can release the funds or encumber the funds, needs the local match, and this is the local match that the city is looking for.
And the local match is from whom?
The CPC will be providing the local match. That will serve as the local match to the federal grant that we've already received.
Okay, and who were you pointing to before?
Oh, so Megan, Todd, and Allison prepared the application.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Todd, could I trouble you just for in the nutshell version?
I like that nutshell, Cliff Note version.
Yes, thank you.
There you go.
Of course, not a problem. So we are in the midst of the obligation cycle for our second federal grant for this project. So we've already obligated the first federal grant. Those are under contract. Those funds are under contract. We're in the midst of the second round of obligation. This is for just over $2 million. These funds need to be obligated by September 30th. Originally, when we had started that obligation process, the state had, at that point, had a plan for committing to helping out with the local funds. But as we know, over the past few years, the federal and state financing landscape has shifted quite a bit, and it became clear to us that it was going to be critical to provide those funds locally, which is how we came to come to CPC and why we requested for it to be off cycle.
Okay, all right, that's helpful. So do you need us to take action on this? I mean, it sounds more urgent than I thought at perhaps the beginning of the meeting.
We need to have the funds finalized, the local match funds finalized before September 30th. There's some debate as to whether that requires 2 readings and or 2 votes from the full council, either versus 1. Either way, I think will be okay, because if you're able to vote, hopefully on August 18th, and then it goes to city council, and city council votes on August 18th, we should still have 1 more city council meeting before, 1 or 2 more before September 30th, so we should be good.
Okay, that's helpful. Anything we can do to move this particular project along,
Yeah.
I'll move that we recommend favorable action. And I'm hopeful, I appreciate the subcommittee being here. I appreciate the fact that you're being nimble. I'm hopeful in the future we can continue to be nimble when opportunities like this that aren't necessarily tied to city projects, but perhaps will allow us the opportunity to be nimble. And, maybe sometimes we stick to rules that are well-intentioned, but we stick to them for the sake of sticking to the rule when it's somewhat inconsistent with the ultimate goal of serving the community. And there are good reasons to do both, but I hope we'll continue to keep an open mind as we are here in terms of timing. I know it was very difficult for some of the other projects because of seemingly arbitrary deadlines in the past to move forward, and I'm glad that we seem to be learning from that. So those are all the questions that I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Todd, and thank you, team.
So you made a motion, you wanted to recommend favorable action? You want to take a vote tonight on that?
If there's objection, I'll happily, but
I don't
yes,
have
that
an
was
objection.
my
You all right
motion.
with that, Councilor King? Will you second it? Councilor King seconds.
Just to, can I clarify,
Sure.
is it okay for the finance
can do
subcommittee
whatever we want.
to vote? Okay. Only because
You do your thing.
CPC is doing their final vote on August 3rd.
That's all right, so we're giving you,
Okay.
at least you know where the 3 of us stand going.
Amazing, thank you.
Because yesterday, I didn't think we were going to have the pleasure of seeing you folks when I talked to your chairman. He called me up to say, can we push it off? Can you schedule a special meeting? Then all of a sudden, I got a call today saying we're doing it different. So I guess I just do as I'm told. I've learned a long time ago.
We appreciate it.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of favorable recommendation of the project, please raise your hand. 3-0. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
A continued discussion with the administration regarding staffing and maintenance of Mary Dennison Park. Welcome. Allison, you coming up here, and Jimmy P., or who's coming up to talk to us about this, or is it going to be the administration first? What are we doing here, folks? Don't all jump at once. The Mary Dennison Park staffing. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
While they're loading that, Mr. Chairman, a question for Parks. At our last meeting, there was a question about the cost of a poster that was created. And I had forgotten about it, but I was reminded, hey, did you ever find out what the cost of that poster was? What was the cost of that poster? I think the mayor's prediction was $5.
Mine was closer to 50, Mr.
That's where my, if I,
Baxton blueprint.
all right.
70.
70?
$70
We,
for a, help me understand what other uses that poster was
Yeah.
intended to serve.
absolutely. We plan to bring it to the farmer's market where we bring up projects that we're working on and show visuals to people as they can see things while we're there in public meetings. And it's in our office right now. The mayor wanted to see it as well, so.
Did the mayor know that he was requesting a $70? He thought it was $5. And I thought, okay.
I said 50.
I thought 25.
I'm, you know, I don't want to make a thing about it, but this is the kind of thoughtful, as we reorganize certain departments and ask questions about the way we do things. DPW used to do this, and I used to pick on them all the time. We'd go to town meeting, and DPW had the most beautiful published stuff because they had basically a printing press over there. And then they realized, you know what, they're picking on the publishing. And then they started making things look pretty inexpensively done, but it gave at least for a while, the connotation that we were being careful about our dollars. I don't know that we actually were, but we shouldn't just create for the sake of, $70 is not what I would have guessed. Anyway, thank you for answering my question. Wow.
Thank you. We had a city councilor when I was chair, when they had the map that has all the districts. They requested all the names be off the map except hers. I'll let you figure out who that was, but that's, they wanted DPW to recreate the map with just her name in her district.
Well, that was the other thing. I believe we could create, like Public Works has printing abilities. Why did we not print it in-house? I'm sorry, I don't mean to elongate this, but like this is, if we're wasteful in the little things, we end up like,
This one, we were looking to have a better quality product so that it stood up on a poster board. Not every poster that we get is going to cost the same.
okay, all right. I would have taken a closer look at it. I didn't realize I was staring at such a work of art. Okay. Huh?
What was it? Oh, I don't remember.
It was it an overhead? I mean, frankly, it wasn't. Yeah, I don't know that it was very illustrative of the magic of the project. It's in the office now, we don't have, it's under lock and key now, I would imagine, $70 in insurance reasons and what have you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott.
Mr. CFO, you have the schedule. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. So I guess I'll kind of kick the conversation off with respect to Mary Dennison Park. There have been some discussions about staffing, and the last discussion with the Finance Subcommittee, there was a request to kind of go back and look at staffing and see and understand what those costs would be to staff the park. We went back and looked at it, and in discussion with the mayor, the recommendation is a total of 10 employees for when the park opens to staff it and properly maintain it and properly staff it, given the sizable contributions by both Avery Dennison and the city of Framingham. The proposal is for 4 working supervisors and 6 laborers or MEO1 classifications. The estimated cost of the 4 working supervisors is approximately just under $300,000 at $291,926. The 6 laborers proposed at $335,846. Total staffing cost on a salary basis, along with any other required stipends or shift differentials, estimated at $627,773. We factored in health insurance. As you can see there, typically we try to look at it and I've always used some type of split. So we used a 60-40 split at the highest utilized plan within the GIC that the city of Framingham employees are eligible for, which, as noted below, is the Harvard Pilgrim Explorer plan. The total cost for 4 single plans is $48,000 and 6 families is $178,000. And we factored in the FICA estimate of just $9,100 for a total annualized on a 12-month cycle, $863,636. We have estimated that they would start in September, although that may be a little aggressive as we move through this, but the estimated cost if they were to start in September is $719,697. Next slide, please, Marion. Actually, first, does anyone have any questions about that, or would you like me to just go through the entire next page as well before?
I think you should go through it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the next slide, we're starting with $719,697, which comes from the previous slide. There is seasonal lifeguard money since we are not staffing, do not have lifeguards at the city beaches. We're estimating that we could potentially utilize or reallocate $120,000 of that, which would mean the remaining funding, if we were to start in September for the 10 employees at Mary Dennison, would require $599,697. There are a couple different ways that we could fund this. I'm going to go from the bottom up. The first way would be potentially look for to change or increase the local estimated receipts budget, which would put any stress on the levy limit. We could add 0.26% to the levy limit and generate another $599,652, and then we'd have to find $45 in local estimated receipts to balance that. One other way that would not impact either the local estimated receipts budget and or the levy limit would be during the first supplemental budget appropriation, there was $80 million allocated to cities and towns for the snow and ice as part of what's known as the Winter Recovery Assistance Program that's been in place since, I believe, 2015. The city of Framingham, based on that funding from the $80 million tranche, is expected to receive $577,118. Because we do not have a deficit at June 30th, and because we financed the snow and ice deficit before June 30th with a transfer from free cash, per DOR guidance, that money is available to be transferred and appropriated for any lawful purpose as long as it's done before June 30th, 2027. So it is a potential that would not put any impact on the levy limit at this point in the fiscal year and would not put a significant amount of stress. I'm pretty sure we could find just under 30,000 in additional levy and local estimated receipts to balance this. But that is the staffing proposal based on our discussions with Parks and Facilities and the mayor and the COO, and what that cost would look like and how we are considering funding it. And I'm happy to entertain any questions from the subcommittee.
Yep. Any questions for the CFO? Councilor King.
Well, I have a lot of questions. In all due respect, I'm not floored by this plan. Well, I am floored by it, I guess. But I don't understand how we went from the original FY27 budget proposal of 6 people to 10 people. This is a very large expansion of city services that is just stunning to me. I mean, 2 months before we open this park, we find out it's going to take 10 people to run it. We have parks all over the city that I'm sure could use some level of daily accommodation. I understand this is a large operation in in an area that might get a lot of use, and that's great. But this is ridiculous. That's all I can say. I cannot believe this is brought forward.
Anybody else? Councilor Cannon.
I guess my question, I don't want to direct.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No,
I mean, I'd love to hear from Mr. Tassino on this, because he was the acting CFO at the time when the budget was developed during most of that, and was the COO that oversaw the planning and development for much of Mary Dennison. I too am just floored by, I don't know if I was misled in the course of the process leading up to this, or if we're being careless now, on the heels of us discovering money that wasn't spent during that time as well in other areas. I have more questions than I have answers to, so I would love to hear from the COO on some depth of how we got to this point and why it's so vastly different than what was previously projected. It is an erosion, dare I say, a crisis of confidence if the plan so dramatically changes without, and it's not an emergency. It's not something different. We probably had more planning and thought behind the development of this park than any park in the last couple of decades. But anything you want to share to at least put, to instill me with a little confidence here would be deeply valued.
The short answer is I'm going to have to defer to the mayor. We had several meetings about Mary Dennison and the tough budget that we faced, and it was his decision not to fund those positions to cover Mary Dennison. We weren't 100% sure when it was going to be finished, and I respectfully have to defer to the mayor on that.
We're still only 6 positions. How did it get to 10?
Right.
That just happened a couple of days ago, that request.
It ju-
I'm
Just
sorry,
one
go
at a
ahead.
time. Councilor King.
It just doesn't make sense. I would think if we wanted to look at how we staff our playgrounds and our parks, fine. I think that's, maybe reasonable. I said before, I think we can bring a lot of value to the community through park and rec operations, and I'm not opposed to that. But we're going to hire 10 full-time people at a cost of almost $1 million at the last second to staff one park, proposed potentially in one way or the other to raise our tax levy quite a bit by $1 million. It just doesn't, I just don't understand why no one said to us, we need 10 people over there.
10 wasn't my number. My personal opinion is we
not-
should sub it out.
Right.
We should sub it out to a private company. That's
Okay,
my
well,
personal opinion.
So maybe that makes
But I'm
sense.
part of a team,
Well,
so
I appreciate that. But maybe that makes sense. But, or at least, what are these people going to do from November to April? Is there a discussion about that? Can the park department answer that? What these people are going to do from the, I assume there's some stuff happening at Mary Dennison from November to April. Maybe we're going to flood a court or something for figure skating, but I can't imagine that there's going to be a need for 10 people there from November to April.
Yeah, the operation would shift, and so we would focus more on off-season maintenance, repairs, and things like that, and inventories and making sure.
All
that
our
we're-
parks or just Mary Dennison?
I think we'd have to utilize them throughout the program.
I mean, if you were suggesting to take these 10 people to staff our parks throughout the entire city, maybe, okay? I mean, I think, again, it's a huge expansion in park services, even to do that. But to dedicate 10 people to one park, this is like Disneyland. I mean, I haven't been on the premises, but is this place that elaborate? And if so, and if it really cost $1 million to operate it, then before we appropriated this money to build this park at this level, we should have been told it's going to cost us $1 million a year to operate it. So there is some level of planning that's not right here.
Mr. Chairman,
You're up, Mr. Mayor.
I think we took this presentation a little out of order, because the original, there's a proposal that was submitted that had a series of options with different numbers of employees. And the option that the CFO gave you was the maximum option with 10 people. I think we should have had a discussion first of the different numbers of people and what we would use them for, depending on how many people we agreed on. I mean, we could do it as 4, was it 4, 6, and 10?
Yeah, but why didn't we, Mr. Mayor, we didn't take it out of order. We took it number 2, number 3 on the meeting like we were supposed to. You guys are making the presentation.
No,
so it's not us.
I agree.
And we
You
need
didn't
to
take
staff-
the
there's no
agenda
doubt.
out of order. We took the discussion of this item out of order.
Okay.
And we should really talk about what we feel is needed down there to maintain that park so it doesn't deteriorate from lack of attention. And there's a series of staffing options that we have that we can go through if Allison's ready to do that.
Sure.
And the number 10, the 10 people, that includes like 7 days a week coverage from morning till evening. And to be able to do that, it's going to take a lot of people because there's different shifts and different days of the week, including weekends. That's the ideal situation, 10, but there's options to do it with less people, but we won't get the same coverage.
Well, you've heard from the other two councilors. I'm sure Ms. Malik might, Leora might have something to say also. But with all due respect, we were sitting here not that long ago with 0. Then today we're hearing 10. And, something on the levy, when you read it, will add more money. I got a call from a school person saying today, just what we needed. When they saw this, why can't we add the money and get the schools another $1 million? We can't win, Mr. Mayor. That's all I'm going to tell you. We've got a $40 million asset. A fellow councilor's brought that up. It does need to be maintained. It doesn't need to be the Bentley convertible maintained. It could be the Mustang convertible. We need to take care of our parks. We have a responsibility to do that. But I think we need to find some common ground that's, reasonable for the first go at it. And, Mr. Tassino's not totally wrong. Sometimes subbing things out, things are more efficient, things like that. I took a ride up to the Edgeo Grove Cemetery. I see them resetting headstones, an independent contractor up there doing some work. Sometimes that's the way to go sometimes, and sub things out. Councilor Malik, anybody? Councilor Malik.
Sure, thank you. I do remember the number of 6 as the number of employees that we were going to be looking at, and I'm looking back over the background materials when this was referred from council, and the options, Mr. Mayor, that you were talking about were 6, 4, or 2, from the way I understand this document. So I guess and I came in late, so I missed the vast majority of the presentation, and I apologize for that. But I do appreciate that 7-day-a-week need at the facility and figuring out how you sort of split shifts for the full days. I mean, just thinking about at Learned Pond, like the weekend use is really intense. And I would imagine that at a park like Mary Dennison, the weekends are going to be the busiest time. So, without getting too in the weeds of what a staffing rotation might look like, I sort of do imagine that need does sort of up the need for staff, that need to provide 24/7 or at least 7-day-a-week coverage. So that's just where I'm at now.
Thank you, Councilor Malik. Councilor Gannon.
Thank you. I appreciate the candor, Mr. Mayor. It definitely felt like something was missing or there was a part of the story that was not being conveyed, and I appreciate you clarifying that, because it was very jarring how we sort of got from one place to another. And Mr. Tassino, I appreciate the courageous candor in your comments as well. I think what you need to do, I think we need to table this. I don't think there's anything actionable here. You guys aren't on the same page here. And I get that. That's fine. You've got a really exciting time in terms of a new asset coming online, which I think is spectacular. And, at the appropriate time, there'll be a lot of celebration for that. I think there's an appetite for the council, only speaking for myself, but my sense is that there is a consensus that we want to make sure we're adequately staffing our parks resources. There is a phrase that I have been stealing from Mark Contois and Lena and now Dawn, rethink, repurpose, redeploy. I think your reorganization for parks and facilities, especially with things like this, is going to be really important, because you're going to figure out who you can count on, what members of the team are going to be important to continue forward as we build. But we won't be guessing. This what we have in the document in front of us is an educated guess, but it's a best guess. And if we're going to be making massive investments like this, I really, and I think my colleagues as well, would want to know how this impacts our portfolio around the city, which this doesn't really address this. So let's make sure we get this reorganization through. Mr. Paolini and the team can look at what the assets are really needed enterprise-wide, and we can figure out that, what the ultimate need is and what is affordable. I don't know, Mr. Tassino referenced privatization or subbing it out. I don't want to misquote him. I'm glad that you didn't go that route. I think that's a premature decision. I don't think you've taken a real adequate inventory of what our assets are in terms of staff that maybe we're underutilizing, overutilizing, not rewarding enough, not staffing appropriately, all of those things. So I would take a beat there. But if we're talking about privatization, I want to make sure we make that announcement more thoughtfully than it was made tonight during the meeting. I don't get the sense that those are serious conversations, but I bet they have collective bargaining strings attached to them. That would certainly send alarm bells if I were a union rep, but I don't think those are serious discussions. But I can't table it now, but there's nothing actionable.
Councilor King.
So I agree with a lot of that, but I also, I recognize this is a park that is opening, and hopefully in the relatively near future. I recognize that it does probably need more attention than the average park that we own. Again, I don't mean to be so bothered by it, but I am. 10 is just, in my mind, out of the question. I really don't understand why 10 was proposed when, as Ms. Malik stated, the options I saw in the past were 2, 4, and 6. So I would be willing to support 2 at this time. Not saying that that's the end-all, be-all, but just so that we can then further develop what we might need there and decide what level that we can afford and what level that we want to staff the place at. That will give the reorganization, hopefully, the opportunity to get done. And at that point, the management, as it's reconstituted there, can make a collective decision and make a presentation to us. But at the same point, we don't leave the place totally either unopened or totally empty when it starts. Is that a reasonable approach to this now, that we get 2, recommend 2, and then try to move forward after discussing what we're accomplishing, what we want to do, and what we can afford? That's a question.
I think the challenge becomes, when we looked at those different models of how many staff we would propose, it's highly reliant on how many days a week we want to be open and how many hours a day we want to be open. And so you talked about busy times. So there's busy times for visitors, but in those slower times, that's when we want to be doing the field maintenance, and we want to be doing a lot of the work to prep for those busy times. So just for consideration.
Well, so that's not, it doesn't answer my question, though. I appreciate that, but it doesn't answer my question.
So
is 2 no good? Is that what you're telling me? Even though that was one of the, that's one of the
So-
proposals, you're telling me 2, is that what you're telling me? I don't know, I'm just asking.
So if the model is that we want to keep the park open 7 days a week and have staff there from, say, 10 in the morning to at least 7 at night or later, 2 is not going to be
So this
enough to
park's
be
not going to be open unless it's staffed, is what you're saying?
There's going to be some challenges with parking.
With parking?
The parking lot has a gate, so
What about all the
We can
parking
run
up
into
and down
these
Beaver?
conversations
How about
again.
all the parking up and down the street
Right.
that's in front of it with the fences, when you're going down Beaver Street? What about all that parking, all the front parking?
that parking lot moved. There's no longer along the Beaver Street. There's no parking the same way.
There's no parking
No.
Okay.
The aerial photograph.
for $70. You
Should have had it here,
Could have
right?
had it, yeah. Okay, Councilor Malik, you had your hand up?
I just, maybe along those same lines, the part-time versus full-time, and thinking about, what does happen over the winter, and, is it reasonable to think about these as part-time positions, especially, and second, and you may have covered this when I wasn't here, again, I apologize, what is the anticipated opening
Sure, we didn't talk
period,
about
range,
that.
date?
So August has previously been thrown out. We're not opening in August. The contractor has obligations that will put him beyond August. So I don't have a defined date at this moment, but we're hoping shortly after August. September, October is probably realistic.
So we can control some of the use of that park after it opens by the permitting. Some of those fields will have to be permitted in order for people to use it. And if we restrict the amount of permits we give out, we can try to control the use of that so it minimizes the need for supervision down there. But there's a lot of facilities there. There's well, the splash pad won't be in use after the fall, but there's a kids' playground, there's soccer fields, basketball courts, handball courts. There's a lot of activities that can take place down there at one time. And it's going to be a showplace for everybody, and it's going to be in big demand. But with limited resources to take care of it, we're going to have to limit the use of those facilities. And that's what we'll do.
How about the kids that live at Brookside that want to go swing on the swing with their mother and they walk over to the park and go on the
Yeah.
swing? They're not going to be limited. How do you limit those kind of folks?
No,
Someone come
those
in-
passive uses are,
The
Yeah,
passive
that'll
use is
be-
going to be 24/7, just like all the other playgrounds, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
talking about the permitting, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is going to be one of the only facilities that we have synthetic turf and lights. So a combined facility like that where we will be able to host soccer and softball is going to be in high demand. So we can limit, but we know that this is going to be in high demand. As far as the part-time versus full-time, so a lot of our part-time workers come on in the summer, where we see a lot of demand for operations is spring and fall. We need a lot of leaf pickup, we need a lot of getting the ball fields ready, so part-time doesn't help with those times of the year. Makes it challenging.
Councilor Cannon.
So, thank you for the insight. I think that the plan that ultimately we need to see is something that really provides a sense of exactly what is needed enterprise-wide. Because I agree, if you're just hiring someone for one of those uses, it doesn't make sense. However, as you look at the entire department, you're going to probably get a sense of the talent that you're underutilizing, that you can grow with more responsibility, the needs that you have that are, as our assets are increasing, we're not scaling for. This is so narrow in its focus. I am really troubled by this. So if there's something, sure, I would support Councilor King's suggestion if there is something, not in any indication that that's all there is, but I'm stunned by how little we are being presented with and how little we seem to know, not only about this park, because the amount of money that has been committed towards it and the amount of time we've been talking about it, but I think of also the parks that don't get the headlines that I know we're not putting even this much thought into. This is really a crisis of confidence operationally speaking from me. So if there's something short-term we can do while you figure this out, and I want to make sure that we're also not sending the wrong message. I would have walked away probably from this meeting thinking the folks across the street that Councilor Ottaviani were referring to that like our other parks would have, unfettered access, reasonable, would have some sort of, I'm still unclear with I don't know, not everyone's on the same page, and I think it would be helpful. I would like to see that presentation that gives the different models, but I also want you to be confident that everyone's on the same page here, and there sounds like there's quite a disconnect, so.
Can we see the 2, 4, and 6 presentation?
Do we have it?
We have it.
You said she did.
I got it here.
I'm sorry, I thought you said you had it.
No, it wasn't a formal presentation.
But it's in the handout.
Discussion.
I'm a paper guy. It's printed on my paper. You want to see
It is?
that?
No, the 2, 4, and 6.
Well, I got 4 and 6. I don't have 2, but I got.
No, that's the 4 and 6 to equal 10. I'm looking for the total 2, total.
Oh, I was cutting them in half. Oh, okay. I was cutting them both in half, okay.
So that's, but you said that you could,
I don't think so. We brought it for discussion last time.
It's I see it in the background materials. I mean, it's not broken down in the way that one
I was looking
is.
for it, it's broken down. I understood you.
It's not as broken down.
We're going to have another city finance subcommittee meeting. I was going to actually have it before our city council meeting, because I thought that's all we were going to have was the CPC issue that Mr. Mahoney called me about. And then today, I got another call. It was not going to, there's a problem. So they gave their presentation. So, and I talked to Brian. He's got some stuff we need done. So we're going to have another meeting before the 18th of August. And an hour's not enough, so we're going to have to pick a date that works and just have another meeting. But if we could get this I like paper, you know what I mean? If you can get it and don't do the 10, do the 2, 4, 6, because, you know, I get where Councilor King's coming from, but 2's at the bottom of the number. You know, I was looking more maybe at 4, but we need to figure something out, because it can't not be maintained. But I don't know how you do 24/7 staff, because like those people from Brookside, they're dying to get over there once you got to open up. But that's the passive use that, you go by Arlington Street. I know it gets a lot of activity, but these parks, some of these neighborhoods have nothing. And this neighborhood's getting the grand, they're getting actually the Rolls Royce of parks, so.
We do have that breakdown. I thought it was part of your packet. I apologize that it wasn't, and we'll be better prepared for the next meeting.
In the meantime, if you could, just get it to Mary, and she'll get it to all of us
Yes.
again, so we have it, and we can all go over it. If we have any questions, we can shoot them to you or Mr. Tassino or Brian before the meeting, so we can get some answers. Council Cannon.
Is the photo on the poster, is that the one that's listed as labeled in the background material as the aerial photo?
No, that one's from 2023.
Okay, I don't know why it's in there. So is that poster photo somewhere?
It was I did give it to Mary, and we had a snafu with getting it on the last agenda. My fault.
Okay, all right, no, that's fine. Okay, thank you very much.
Do you want to see it on the screen? She can put it up on the screen. If you can, put it up, please.
Since the mayor referenced it, if it's easy to do.
Do we have another meeting scheduled
do
while
not.
that's coming?
No, that's
But
what we
we're
need.
going to
We're
schedule.
We have
Okay.
to, yeah. Originally, I thought we were only going to need to do the
Gotcha.
CPC, but that's changed.
So where is the gated parking that's what I was having trouble.
Sure. So really, the aerial photo was to show the breadth of how many amenities we have at this facility.
Pretty amazing.
The mayor's pointing to it, gray, gravel.
Parking was along.
Waverly, or not Waverly,
No.
Beaver.
Beaver.
I meant Beaver.
All that parking is gone. It's made a new parking lot here with entrance and exit right off of Beaver Street.
How many spaces are in there, do we know?
Off the top of my head, I think it's 100.
150 maybe?
No, I think it's 127, if I'm,
Okay.
And it's gated, it's restricted access parking all the time?
yes.
So when the park closes, the gates close.
I see, okay. Okay, okay, all right, I
What's
got
that
it.
on the bottom right?
That would be the skate spot, and the blue within it is an adult fitness area.
What's the first thing it is?
Skate spot.
Oh, skate, oh.
Is that like a
Skate
skate
park?
park?
It's a skate park, but I don't call it a park because it's not the bowl
All right.
that we're used
It's
to
for-
seeing at
it's for
Farm Pond.
skating.
It's,
Okay.
yeah,
Judy Grove would say it's
Plaza.
a streetscape type
That's right.
skate park, not a bowl theme.
We got a good education on that, didn't we, at town
Yes.
meeting?
And that's the splash pad in the middle?
no, in the middle is the playground.
Where's the splash pad?
The splash pad, below where you see the skate, it's kind of a walkway, and it has, you see 3 shade structures on top of it.
Right at the very bottom of the picture, like right
Yep.
along the street?
Yes,
That's the splash pad?
yep. If you want to be,
I can see it.
I was liking what you were doing, you had like a Vanna White weather meteorologist kind of combo vibe happening there,
Next
pointing
gig.
at the map, yeah. I'm overdue for another tour, it's been a long time, so would love to see it, that might be helpful for.
Field trip.
That's an excellent idea. Out there before the next finance committee.
We can do that.
I would love to do that also.
absolutely.
Maybe you can throw some dates out, you know what I mean, and then we'll see what works, so we can all get it
Perfect.
done, so you're not going there 4 or 5 different times.
Thank you.
I'll say I think this is really exciting also. I mean, underlying this whole conversation is
This is spectacular.
this is going to be super exciting. And if I can just speak to the lighted courts also, I think that is really a huge, if the lit pickleball courts or Butterworth are any indication, people will be out there until the lights turn off, if that's an option.
Is there a scoreboard there too, hopefully?
So, yeah, this just is really exciting to me.
Obviously, the right-hand side softball is artificial turf. Is the other softball artificial turf too, or is that correct?
No, that's natural turf. What you don't see beyond that is synthetic turf volleyball and then a hardscape handball court.
Where's that? On the
I have to
outfield?
point to that one.
Yeah, okay. It is pretty impressive
It is.
That's volleyball and handball.
over there, okay. Thank you.
Allison has been managing this project from beginning to end with making all the, following the contracts, keeping the contractor under control, and taking care of, making sure that this is being done right and on time. She's done an excellent job, and you've been invited to talk about it. What the conference is at?
It's a Brownfield Summit.
She's
A
been
regional.
fantastic in overseeing this project, and one of the reasons why it looks so good and it's so, going to be so successful is because of Allison's work on it.
Of course,
She's
we
been
appreciate-
terrific on
We
it.
appreciate all her efforts in Park and Recs.
Thank you.
Is
Anybody
it,
else up here?
just,
Councilman Malik.
is it reasonable that we revisit this conversation on August 11th?
Well, we're going to pick a date. We're going to get there. I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, well, I just didn't know if for you to provide the information. I mean, there's only two options.
I think
really,
we can do that.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, and we'll try to schedule a field trip before that.
Yeah.
So is August 11th work for everybody? Do you want to meet August 11th? You can pick it now.
It's a Tuesday.
You okay?
As far as I know.
All right. 5 o'clock, August 11th, Marion. That way there, and let the CPC folks know. Maybe, you know, they're having their vote on the 3rd, so that way there you guys know what we're dealing with. We'll do it. Thank you, Council Malik. So, now the Finance Subcommittee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else, any questions before we get to the next agenda item? Seeing none. I'm going to go back just, there were one set of minutes. Minutes from 6:23:26.
Motion to approve is distributed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Council King. All those in favor, say aye, indicated by raising your hand. 4-0. Thank you, Marion. Discussion, added background. At the request of the financial analysis of the council, a discussion of the city vehicle fleet policy. Anthony, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at the subcommittee's request, I have compiled data and information on city-owned vehicles. Marion, do you mind putting up the PowerPoint one? So on the next slide. So this is the general overview of all departments that have city vehicles. In total, there's a lot. There's 323 vehicles. Majority of them, or maybe not the majority, but close to half, is the DPW, which a lot of them are specialized vehicles, not necessarily, you know, passenger vehicles that are driven for just to and from places. A lot of them are for, you know, water, sewer, lift vehicles for trees, and we can get more into that. I have a slide for each department as well. But here you see the totals with the number that have GPS and the number of take-home vehicles. So GPS, there's only 49 vehicles that have GPS in them. Again, most of them are within the DPW inspectional services. All their vehicles have GPS. The Council on Aging van has a GPS, and the Health Department, I think the two new vehicles have GPS. So on the next slide.
Hey, sorry, can I just interrupt? To my co-counselors, what's the interest in having GPS on vehicles? Like, I know this came up in our budget conversations, and there was some inquiry, like, how many of our vehicles have GPS? I'm just curious, like, what the value, like, why you're interested in that metric, if that makes sense.
So for me, it was just, we didn't seem to have a policy or a process or, you know, a thought process
Yeah.
in place for why we bought the GPS, what we use it for. So I was hoping, I think I had asked the COO for kind of some insight there on what the usage was, but also how we decide what vehicles get GPS. I was kind of puzzled. It didn't look like, and I'm sorry, and Anthony, thank you for the great work on this. Do our take-home vehicles have the GPS?
Not necessarily, I think. based
Like,
on-
that's what I was, at some point in this conversation, I'd love to get an insight of what the city thought process is on how we make these decisions.
So, no, is the answer to your question. A lot of the snow equipment, especially the sidewalk tractors, have GPS at the DPW request, because if something happens, and the truck doesn't show up somewhere, especially a sidewalk tractor that could tip over. So they're pretty adamant about having GPS. And then just over the course of time, the different departments, if they felt they needed GPS, they put it in. Inspectional services, at one point, I felt that we wanted GPS to train some of the new inspectors, and we used to get a lot of calls. The inspector's not here, where is he? Never showed up. So we decided to put GPS. And also in the trash trucks, where people say my trash wasn't picked up, we can show that they're on that street. So it's kind of an elective if each department wants to use GPS in their vehicles.
So I'm sorry, just to follow up there, and I apologize if I was interrupting you, Councilor.
No, you can go. I also have a follow-up, so.
Thank you. So all of the inspectional services vehicles have them, all 12, but if only 34 of the 156 DPW vehicles have them. Is that just because of snow removal or not, or how do we decide on, like, the Council on Aging, that must be the van, the Council on Aging van has one.
With DPW, it's snow and sanitation, just the tractor vehicles.
Okay. So I didn't realize we had 156 vehicles in the DPW fleet alone. That's a staggering number to me.
It's an impressive array when you go down to DPW headquarters. and look
I
at
would
it.
agree.
But to your point, Councilor Kennan, I think, the Council on Aging van, that's to what you're saying also, Mr. Stino, that very much makes sense, that
100%.
would be, right, something that has GPS on it. But I know, Anthony, sorry to interrupt you, like 1 minute
problem
into
at all.
your presentation. Is it? Oh.
I thought he was coming up for a little
I was-
chocolate over there. Councilor
Thank you,
Stefanini
thank
is
you.
hiding over there.
I'm misidentified. Now I forgot about the council on, at the end, I think you had like potential questions moving forward, and if you could just add to that list, maybe like GPS policy or maybe, is there anything in writing? Maybe that's the
There
question.
is a GPS policy. I think it.
Who gets a GPS? There is a policy.
No, I think it just essentially says that it's a managerial right, if I remember correctly.
So maybe we could flesh that out a little bit more with guidelines as a next step in this
Just,
conversation.
it's in the bargaining agreements with most of the unions, so you could just direct Anthony to that's where he could get it from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 2.
So in the next slides, there's 13 departments that have vehicles. So I'll quickly run through some of these. I think some of them are pretty straightforward. Like this one, the assessing department. So the assessing department has 3 shared vehicles amongst the 4 staff members that do field inspections, so that go out and do assessments. All these vehicles are used during typical standard business hours. They have 2 older vehicles, I think like a 2014 and 16 or something like that, and a newer EV that they just got last year, I believe. They do not have any take-home vehicles. The next slide is the cemeteries department. They have 2 F-250s that are used for the maintenance of cemeteries, and no take-home vehicles. Then the next slide is the Department of Public Works. In the report that I also had sent around, there's more of a breakdown by department, by sub-department or division, showing what each has for types of vehicles. But for this, I put in the total for Department of Public Works. That's why there's so many, because Framingham runs a full-service DPW. Most cities don't run their own sanitation. Most sub out a lot of the sewer work. So I think that's the reason behind a lot of these vehicles.
Anthony, on your big report, you got it all broken down. It says what
Right.
takes them home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so the DPW has 10 authorized take-home vehicles. There's 2 vehicles that Mr. Tassino said he'd be taking offline two older sedans, and won't be seeking replacement for those. Those are within the engineering department. And like I said earlier, most of these are some sort of specialty type truck. A lot are for plowing, have attached sanders. There's a lot that have lifts for both the streetlight department and for the highway tree division that have the boom lifts. There's pump trucks for sewer and water that run lines through the systems, and a lot of just different types of vehicles. Next department is capital projects and facilities. Their vehicles are used for both maintenance and project oversight. They travel back and forth between municipal facilities primarily. There's one authorized take-home vehicle for the department head.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jim stepped out, but don't they, like you say, for maintenance, but isn't one of those like an electrician's truck, like very
So there-
specifically outfitted?
Yeah, so there's a van, I believe one van, or two vans, sorry, and some of the trucks are also equipped to carry tools and equipment around. Next is the fire department. So fire department split. 14 of the vehicles are the actual apparatus, the actual fire trucks, ladder trucks, engine trucks. Those obviously have a longer lifespan. They cost substantially more than most vehicles. They're kind of guided by their, national, the National Fire Protection Association sets guidelines for when vehicles should be replaced, what the standards are, what condition those vehicles should be in. There's 6 authorized take-home vehicles. It was expressed to me that there may be need for expansion within the fire department for the west side of the city, which would, I assume, be a big undertaking and also include vehicles. Any questions on that one before I move on? All right, next is the health department. So these 5 vehicles are shared by 14 employees for inspections, community outreach, clinics. There are not any take-home vehicles within the health department. They're also in the process of obtaining a bus through a legislative earmark. I think the use right now is to be determined, potentially mobile health services, consultations, or some sort of health promotional events. Right now, there is not operational funding for the van, for I think both staffing it and maintaining it. Next is inspectional services. So these are utilized by the field inspectors, building, plumbing, electrical, gas, code enforcement. There's one designated weights and measures truck. In inspectional services, each employee is designated their own vehicle, although they don't take it home. They each just have their own that they use daily. There are not any take-home vehicles. Next is the library. The library has 2 vehicles, 2 very separate uses. One is the mobile book truck, which sets up at city events, at schools, senior housing, senior center. And the other is a pickup truck to transport books and other type of equipment from facility to facility. Next is media services. They have 1 vehicle. It's essentially what I think of as a news truck, where they are able to set up mobile production off location. Can also be used for emergency broadcast should they not be able to use the broadcasting station here. It's not utilized as often as they desire. I was informed that in 2020, I believe, There were some staffing reductions to, I think, part-time employees within the media department. So they'd like to be able to use it more, but I think it requires a decent amount of setup time and hands to set it up on location. Parks and Rec is next. I just wanted to note they have one vehicle here on loan that's not included in their chart. It is included in the DPWs, one Ford Explorer that is being lent to them. Their vehicles are also used in snow operations for their facilities. There used to be 3 take-home vehicles, and then I believe up until June, there was 1, and now there are not any take-home vehicles. Police Department. So the police department has a substantial amount of vehicles. Of the patrol vehicles, so there's 36 total marked cruisers. 27 of those are shared by the patrol personnel for regular shifts. Others are used for a lot of paid details. So the city is paid if a cruiser is requested. So the older ones that are deemed no longer good for actual patrol are used for details. So that's why there's 27 that are actively used, but 36 total. So those ones do generate revenue for the city through those paid details. There's 6 motorcycles, 3 other specialty marked, I think a van, an F-250, and an older Crown Vic cruiser. 2 parking enforcement vehicles. And so there's 26 vehicles marked as confidential. That was how the police department describes them. Included in those are 14 take-home vehicles for the chief, deputy chiefs, K-9 handlers, and members of the Detective Bureau. There's also 1 vehicle assigned to the mayor's office that falls within the police department realm, although it's not equipped with police equipment. The other vehicles in the confidential, a lot of them are truly, some are just unmarked cars, but there are some that are truly used in undercover type operations. Most, if not all, of these vehicles were purchased through forfeiture money.
Can I ask a question on this one before we move on?
Councilor
Thank
Gannon.
you. This is very helpful. And at some point, I don't know if we've done it already, we have to throw the cell phone details at
This
Mr.
is
Kinney.
great. Yeah, that'll be the next one, project for him.
I remember, help me understand, anybody on the team, why is that vehicle still assigned to the mayor's office, the confidential plate? It's a municipal car, and it should be important to note that it's not the mayor's vehicle. We are probably one of the few Massachusetts mayors that doesn't take a municipal vehicle, which I appreciate. But why did we not correct that vehicle for its current use and have a blue municipal plate on it? Is that still the COO's take-home vehicle, just for the, yes, okay. Mr. Tassino?
I wasn't following your question. Can you repeat it?
Okay. I'll gladly repeat the question. You have a city-issued take-home vehicle, correct?
Yes.
Why is it bearing a confidential plate that is reserved for specific uses currently assigned to the police department? You're basically driving a police unmarked confidential plate vehicle that should have a blue municipal plate.
I don't know. The police department assigned us that vehicle. I could ask the chief why.
The police department, the police department didn't assign you the vehicle. That was the previous mayor's vehicle.
But it came from the police department. They purchased it and they gave it to the mayor, the former mayor.
No, the city of, Mr. Tassino, I'm not looking to I'm not going to take the time to correct the inaccuracies in your statement. My question is, the current mayor has been in office for more than half a decade now, I believe, or thereabouts. why are we still, that vehicle was not a blue municipal plate at the time because the previous mayor thought there was a security risk there. You're now driving that vehicle and have been for years. Why are we still treating it as a confidential plate vehicle instead of a blue municipal plated vehicle as consistent with the law?
I don't know.
You didn't, you never asked?
The police chief said that's the vehicle, that's the registration, that's what I drive. The mayor chose not to drive it. I was supposed to get a vehicle allowance. The mayor didn't want to do that. He didn't want to drive the vehicle. He directed me to drive the vehicle. It falls under the police department jurisdiction. If you want me to find out why, I'll ask the chief why.
Well, you've been asked this before, and you said you were going to look into it years ago.
Never. No one ever asked me that before.
You've never been asked this question before?
Nope.
As the chief operating officer, knowing some familiarity with Massachusetts laws that govern the use of municipal vehicles and other government uses of motor vehicles by municipalities and government agencies, did you ever, through intellectual curiosity, wonder why the entirety of our fleet, with a very limited exception, have blue municipal license plates on them and only specific vehicles? For example, undercover police cars have license plates that look like traditional non-municipal vehicles?
No, I never asked. I didn't know. All I asked
How do you
for is...
not know? You're the COO.
I asked to take the lights and the radio out. That's all I knew about. I didn't know what kind of plate it was on there.
You didn't know that this was treated in a different... I'm stunned by that because there have been... Municipal government vehicles are supposed to be indicated. By the way, I don't like the idea of us driving around unnecessarily in vehicles that are public assets that aren't labeled City of Framingham. And one of the ways we do that to be transparent to the public is that the license plate is clearly a government license plate. This is not new. You oversee the fleet. You are a steward of capital assets. Why is it okay for your vehicle that you take home to be treated differently than the other executives in your administration who take home vehicles? Is anybody else that has a take-home vehicle other than perhaps police officers treated that way? I don't think so. I think they're all blue municipal plates.
I don't know why. The chief said that's the vehicle assigned to the mayor's office. The mayor didn't want to drive it. The only thing I questioned was I didn't want the lights and I didn't want the radio in it. That's all I questioned. I don't know anything about the plate. You obviously know more than I do, but it's just a white plate. Looks like any other white plate on the street.
Right. What it doesn't look like is the plate that is supposed to go in accordance with the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to a motor vehicle owned by a municipality. Could you look into this and let's just get this corrected? It's unfair to the public because we're not following the law. Those exemptions from those license plates are very specific use cases, which this does not apply. This is not one of those use cases. I just wish, are there other regulations that we're being so cavalier and casual in terms of complying with?
I'm following the police chief's lead. That's the vehicle he gave me.
You expect me to believe that the police chief made a recommendation, and I'll leave it here, but I'm outraged at this because you're leading me to believe that the police chief said that you should have a plate that is confidential, that treated the same way that we treat an unmarked police vehicle that's used in...
No, I'm not representing that.
That's the vehicle the police chief gave the former mayor and dumped it on the mayor's office 9 years ago. So if you want to look into it and get us the info on the plate,
that's exactly right.
And I'll get you the dates on when you have asked this question in a public, been asked this question in a public forum before.
Councilor King, was your hand up? You waved it.
I did?
I thought, so unless you were just putting it here.
Just asleep.
Okay, sorry. All right. Anthony, please continue.
Okay, any other questions on the police department?
No.
Actually, just one quick one.
Yes.
So the ones that are not used for undercover operations, did you get a sense of, and we can have a different conversation with police at some point in time if we don't have this info handy. We seem to have a pretty large fleet there. I don't know if it's necessary. Did you get the sense that police has, this is an unfair question for you, actually. I'm gonna, when we have the police chief in, let's have a question about the.
When you leave here at night,
discussion
if you count the vehicles in the parking lot, you'd be overwhelmed. I have a gentleman in my district that lives on Grisbosca that brings that to my attention at least every quarter about all the vehicles in the parking lot that are police
Former police
vehicles.
officer.
Yes, absolutely correct. Retired former. Anthony, you're up.
All right, next is the Planning and Community Development.
Probably.
Recently, the Planning Department decommissioned 3 vehicles, replaced 3 with 1 electric vehicle that's shared by the entire department, but primarily used by the Conservation Commission Administrator / tree warden. That vehicle does not go home with anyone. Next is the...
Sorry, quick question.
Yes.
So just talking about consistencies across departments, it sounds like our planning and community development director does not have an assigned vehicle, whereas it seems like most of the other department heads do. Would you say that that's correct?
What you said is correct.
Okay, just thinking about consistency across departments.
So
Thanks.
the building doesn't either. The building commissioner doesn't have one either.
Inspectional services.
Yeah, inspectional services, sorry. Council on Aging, so they have one.
I thought they inspectional services had
you look at
one
the
for
shop,
each
doesn't-
staff, no?
So, but they don't go
Take-home
home.
Vehicles, there's no
Oh,
take-home vehicles.
no, I'm not even thinking about take-home vehicles. I'm just thinking about over the course of the day that you can use.
Oh, sorry, yes.
So planning and community development's the only department where during the course of the workday,
You have one EV.
that the director doesn't have a vehicle. Sounds like, maybe.
Every event he
possibly.
goes to, he's
Okay.
in his own.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
thank
fair.
you. Thank you.
So the Council on Aging has a van that one is not owned by the city. The MWRTA owns that. It shares costs for some maintenance with the Council on Aging. It's primarily utilized to bring seniors to appointments, grocery shopping, and other activities. It was expressed that demand is increasing for usage of the van, and possibly would seek another.
Yeah, I thought there was a second driver, maybe? Two drivers for one van, is that what it was? Okay.
Then
Because
Randy
we
used to
did just
drive it once in a
increase
while,
it.
too.
All right, thank you.
So that's all the departments that have vehicles, 13 departments. So looking at this and looking at, the effort it took to compile this data, it may make sense to explore the option of having some sort of fleet management software which would include most likely GPSs. There are benefits. There is the administrative function of GPS to keep people accountable, but there's also a lot of operational benefits, such as, like Mr. Tessino said, with snow removal, planning routes, things along those lines. There's a lot of vehicles to not have a centralized fleet management system. It would also help track usage. It would be able to better provide, if there were opportunities for reductions, to know when those cars were last used. I mean, we have the mileage, we can do averages of how many miles are on them a year, but we don't know how long they sit for without being used. And if there are more opportunities there, it would be a pretty significant expense, probably $50,000 for implementation, $15,000 to $40,000 a year to maintain it. For each GPS tracker would have its own license and require an annual fee. So there is a pretty significant expense, but I think it could definitely be beneficial. And for this many vehicles, I think it makes sense. I didn't explore too much into the options. There's a number of them out there that specialize in municipalities. Obviously, that would have to go through a procurement process if it were a decision to move forward with. Any questions on that?
Don't we have that already?
So I don't know, maybe the mayor's office knows. I would assume that they have their own, but not a centralized. I assume that the DPW has their own sort of system
For tracking?
for tracking and
For managing the fleet?
at least the ones that are equipped with
Yeah,
it.
they have a fleet management system. It tracks the mileage, the dates, the repairs, but now
Oil changes, all
DPW,
the regular stuff.
through the mayor's a change in maintenance, most of the vehicles are going through DPW Maintenance Department anyways. We put all the other mechanics from separate departments, Parks and Rec, and Police, under the DPW Director of Fleet. So a lot of that
Police
stuff.
have a guy like they used to a person, a mechanic, the pocket, so it all goes down
They
there.
have their own management system, they have the mileage, and they have all that stuff, oil changes and all the other maintenance, so we kind of already are doing that.
What vehicles don't go in that system?
Right now, just the fire, because they still have their own mechanics right now, but as they retire or move on, we'll probably put everything through the DPW.
But everything else, other than fire vehicles, are tracked in that management software? Okay, cool.
Councilman
So,
Malik.
thanks. So is it in the realm that could, so if we have it, I mean, is it about expanding it or is it using it? I don't know, maybe that's.
So
a
I'll
next
have to
step.
follow up with the
Yeah.
DPW fleet manager. I'm not sure exactly what system they use, but let me follow up on that.
Okay. Thank you.
And then what happened to the, this was great, this is helpful. What happened to the parks take-home vehicles? They used to have,
Well, the last guy was, I think, McGinty, and then when he retired.
Three, McGinty had one, the Rich from Lauren Arena.
Had one?
And the director had one.
so,
Now there's none.
so what happened to them?
Like the cars
The question is what
physically,
happened-
is that
Where are they
the
now?
question?
Stored on
We were
site.
charged with, 4 years ago, was a wish of the council to cut down on take-home vehicles, so that's what we've been doing
There's,
whenever we can.
the vehicles are still in the fleet, but they don't go home.
Okay, so that was my question. What's the current use of the former take-home vehicle? Sorry for being cryptic there.
They're used by the workers and the DP, they were used by.
Actually, well, the former director of Parks and Rec, his vehicle had kind of died on us, so we just didn't replace it. So that's gone out of the fleet.
Did we dispose of it? Did we sell it for parts? Did
Auction.
Okay. And the others?
The others are just back, actually, the ice arena superintendent, same thing. His was on its last leg. That went to the auction. And then the former superintendent of parks, his went back into the fleet. It was a pretty hefty pickup truck that can be used.
So what is it being used for now? Because that was a pretty, I agree with you, it was an expensive, higher-end vehicle.
Yeah, they're just using it in the fleet as a pickup truck for whatever they need.
Okay. Thank you.
Anthony?
Okay, this slide is one potential option to consider. It may be more of an administration decision, but pooling vehicles, so there's 33 vehicles for memorial building departments. I understand that in the near future, some will be moving next door. But of those vehicles, 22 are regular passenger vehicles that maybe there's an opportunity to pool those vehicles and at the same time reduce or through attrition, reduce them. It would require some sort of investment in technology. So in the bottom right's a key box of how you'd go sign out your vehicle for the day. You use your fob, gives you a vehicle, you return the key at the end of the day. It would have to put the burden, I think, of maintenance on an individual rather than, so each department right now, and I think in inspectional services, even the individual is kind of responsible for their own vehicle, making sure that it goes in for maintenance when it has to. So there'd be some sort of decision on who's now responsible for the maintenance of these 20 or so vehicles, which might have an adverse effect of creating a new position or adding to someone's duties. this could reduce the number of necessary vehicles, although a lot of the vehicles are used at the same time. Right now, we don't have the data to say how many vehicles are actually out there all day at the same time, and how many instances would there be when there would not be a vehicle available, because we just don't have that data. And then the final slide, next steps. So,
On the first one, you're gonna talk to DPW and see what you
yes,
can do with that?
yep.
Perfect.
Yep, so I will talk to them about that. And then I don't know if you guys had anything else that you wanted me to do, or any other questions on this to take back?
I would think you're gonna meet with DPW. Number two, the pool system is something we should look at, you know what I mean? I think that's a good idea. You know, Council Malik showed the discrepancies, like, it is true. Anytime you see Saki pull up, he's flying into a meeting, he's in his Jeep, he's in his own vehicle, his black Jeep, and I see him everywhere. I saw him at the Zippity Dog, everywhere I see him, he's in the Jeep. So that might be something to look at, because maybe there'd be a vehicle that's in the parking lot that he could use.
And the PIO as well, I mean, everywhere.
Yeah, right, she's using her own car, you're right, that's true too. Your hand was up.
The GPS, as we were talking about, I'd love to maybe see some of the decision-making that goes into what vehicle gets a GPS or not, and it sounds like maybe that's within some of the contracted union contracts.
Okay, I'll talk to the departments that have them.
Or figuring that. And then I very much appreciate you talking to the fleet. I wonder if it isn't worth us sort of having a conversation with the fleet director about what their opinion would be or experience would be with this. And then maybe I'm also curious about
What do you mean by
other-
experience?
like with sort of shared, like with the technology, would it be capable? What's lacking in that, you know?
From DPW, that
Yeah.
software, okay.
And then in terms of pooling vehicles, I'm pretty sure Boston does. They're obviously on a different level than we are. I would be sort of curious to know, there must be other municipalities
Oh,
that
yeah.
do, so I would maybe want to hear, if that's something we're I think it's worth exploring. It may or may not make sense for us. But so within that, I'd want to know what other municipalities are doing that
Okay,
and how it's
absolutely.
working for them.
Some of the surrounding towns, like towns that are similar to us,
Yeah,
or cities
yeah.
that are similar to us.
Similar fleet size.
Yep. Anybody else?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did we ever get, I think we had asked you, Mr. Cicino, for the GPS usage data. Did that ever get to Marion? I don't remember seeing it, or to Anthony?
No, I mean, we would need what vehicle you would be looking at. I mean, one day is probably 7 or 8, or even higher pages of, you know, where the vehicle is, what time it stops, what time it moves. It's quite extensive. We could get it for you, but it would be helpful if you were interested in certain block of vehicles or.
So I guess it would have been helpful to have that follow-up when the request was made several months ago. But I think one of the reasons it was requested was to give some insight into, are we using this tool effectively? Is it telling us anything that is helpful? I, at the time, thought we were putting it on, I thought we had GPS on our take-home vehicles. It would have been interesting to see what that usage was, if there was something that was not to a benefit for the taxpayers that were footing the bill for a lot of that. But I guess we don't have that data. But I don't believe, have you submitted any data as a sample to say has there been any follow-up since it was requested in April?
No, I don't remember asking for the actual location GPS information. The request from Councilor Stefanini was what vehicles had GPS.
Okay, it might be helpful to write these things down, because I don't recall what Councilor Stefanini had asked for, but I know I had asked as well. And if there was confusion, we're all very accessible in terms of, hey, just want to make sure we're getting you what you need instead of the silence or no response. But thank you for the insights, eye-opening, I appreciate it.
Next is member prerogatives. Anybody have anything they want to share or add? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Got a motion by Councilor King, a second by Councilor Cannon. All those in favor say aye with your hands. We're adjourned.